So next I want to move in to talk about our mission and our vision and our mission and our new long-term objectives. When it comes to building or writing out a mission statement, most of you, I'm sure, have been part of that process where you can spend like 2 days putting things on the boards, thinking about all these concepts that you want to include in your mission statement. By the way, so the mission statement is the why you do what you do. The vision statement is what you're going to achieve. And then the long-term objectives are the things that you're going to actually measure, how you're going to measure success. Well, so in the mission statement, the why is probably the most important. So why do you come to work? Why are you doing this? And it sounds easy enough, but when you put a group of people in the room and start thinking about it, it takes a long time. And you come up with all these different concepts, and then you try to boil them down into a few key concepts, and then you try to come up with the most economical words. So I say all that to say you'll be unimpressed with just a little short phrase, but I want to let you know that there's a lot of work that goes into this. So our mission statement is, we are passionate about developing dynamic, diverse economies and thriving communities for generations of Tennesseans. I'd like to share just a little bit about the thoughts behind some of these. So we're passionate. So I'm an entrepreneur. People think that entrepreneurs in business, people think that entrepreneurs are passionate about what they do. And I am, and every entrepreneur that I know is. But it's different here. You know, when you're a passionate entrepreneur, you're passionate about maybe yourself, your employees, but you're making decisions for yourself. And that's one thing. But when you're working for the state of Tennessee, for the people of Tennessee, you know that you're answering to 6.5 million people with every action that you do every day. It changes things. And if you're not passionate about this work, you shouldn't be here. So this is part of table stakes. This is how you get to be a part of the team, and it's what's going to motivate you every day, being passionate about what we do. So the passion is key. About developing dynamic and diverse economies. So the dynamic part, we want to focus on innovation. Economies are constantly changing. Businesses are constantly changing. If we're not changing with our policies and the way we approach the economy, then we're not keeping up. So we've got to recognize that things are dynamic, and we've got to be dynamic ourselves. We want diverse economies. We're having great success in our state in the automobile industry. I think everybody knows that. We're #1 in automobile manufacturing per capita of any state in the country. We do fantastic in automobile manufacturing and are continuing to bring lots of new businesses here, but we don't want to be a one-trick pony. We've got to make sure that we have a diversified economy, and we're doing that. We've got lots of new verticals that we're having some great new success with, like in the aerospace industry. Another one, just a side note to mention, we're going to soon be the capital of ceramic tile in North America. It's a small niche, but it's a niche that we can own. And so there's lots of niches like that we're focusing on, trying to go after the blue ocean to help us strengthen and diversify our economy. And thriving communities. Nobody wants to live where they don't, or want to work where they don't want to live. So we've got to also make sure that we're supporting our communities and making them livable, thriving places to live. And then the last part, for generations of Tennesseans, we spend a lot of time thinking about that. We want to do something that's built to last. If we're just here for a few years and when we leave it had no impact or nothing that lasts beyond our tenure, we haven't done much. We just had a job. We want to create impact in many ways, one of which is creating jobs, bringing companies here that will also be here for generations. But also within our department, we're really focused on creating a culture, an environment that it will also be transcendent, that will be here for years to come. So a side note, a little digression. So we're rearranging our offices, knocking out all the offices. Some of you guys have been in my office. This is a real palatial corner suite. It's not me. So we're knocking out all the walls, and I'm going to be in an open office environment with a little cubicle with everybody else. And there was the comment that, well, you know, Commissioner Boyd, your successor might not like it. She may want that corner suite. I said, well, that's the wrong successor. Then pick somebody else. But we're going to try to create. We're going to try to force this culture on the next guys. But it could be one of openness and transparency and innovation. If one of you were in the running for that position, sorry about that, but we're knocking out the walls. So our vision statement. This one could get me in a little trouble. So first off, a vision statement is going to this is where you set your objective. The mountain that you're going to take, the hill that you're going to climb. What is it that you're going to try to accomplish, that thing that rivets everybody? So a word about vision statements, at least in my view. Vision statements live between the probable and the impossible. So the probable are just things that you know you're probably going to do anyway. It's probably going to get done. So if your vision statement is something that you're probably going to get there anyway, it's really not a vision statement, at least in my view. It needs to be one of those big, hairy, audacious goals that forces you to reach beyond what would automatically happen. You have to through innovation and determination, do new things to get there. But it has to still be below the impossible. If it's clearly impossible, then nobody's going to believe it. So vision statements live between the probable and the impossible. So this is my second tenure of duty with the governor in education. My first one was working with him in the Drive to 55 as special advisor for higher education. And there wasn't a Drive to 55 when I got here. In fact, coming from business, the first thing I ask, I usually would ask this of any business person that I would meet as well. So what's your mission? What's your objective? It's surprising how few businesses, too, can answer that very succinctly. But so I would go to all my partners and all the people that we work with in higher education and started asking, well, what's our mission? What is it that we're trying to achieve? And nobody knew. Everybody had great ideas, or good ideas, I should say, on things that they wanted to do to make the state better in higher education. But it's really hard to discern the good from the great if you don't know where you're going. The way you measure greatness is by how much further it takes you toward your goal. And nobody had an articulated objective until finally one day, about 30 days in, I was having lunch with Rich Rhoda. He was the director of Tennessee Higher Education Commission. He's heard me tell this, so he won't be offended. I don't think. He's never acted like he was. But anyways, I asked Rich, so what's our mission? He says, or our mission to him, nobody knows what our mission is. And he said, Randy, we have a mission. It's been written in the public agenda that we publish. Turns out nobody's ever read the public agenda, or at least nobody that I met had read the public agenda. But he says, in the public agenda, it says that by the year 2025, our post-secondary attainment is going to be 42%. He says, well, that's great. Well, we have a mission. That's perfect. So how did you come up with 42%? So, well, today we're at 32.1%. And based on all the great things that we're doing now, we should be at 39% by the year 2025. So, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. But, well, how did you pick 42%? And I can see at least it's between the probable and the impossible. So, but how did you pick 42%? Well, today we're number 42 in the country in post-secondary attainment. By the year 2025, the national average in post-secondary attainment will be 42%. Okay, so let me get this right. So our mission, our big, hairy, audacious goal for the next 12 years is to be average. He says, yeah, that's it. We're going to be average. I thought, oh, I don't know. That doesn't really feel very exciting. So where should we be? So, well, that's obvious, too. Every organization in the state, from Lumina Foundation, or the country, from Lumina Foundation to Gates, the Georgetown Center for Business and Economic Research, says that by the year 2025 in the state of Tennessee, that the workforce is going to demand the population to have, at least 55% of the population have certificates or some type of degree. I thought, well, if that's what we have to be, then that has to be our goal. I mean, anything less than that is failure. And so very quickly, we came up with this goal of the Drive to 55. And by the way, every other state has this exact same situation. We're blessed that we have a governor that was willing to put a stake in the ground and say, yes, this is above the probable, but we're willing to go for it. So coming to this job, now to the point, coming to this job, same question. So I go to my team and we say, first question, so what's our objective? And refreshingly, everybody said, we want to be number one in the Southeast for high-quality jobs. Everybody's heard that, right? We want to be number one in the Southeast for high-quality jobs. So I said, well, that's great. That's so clear and articulate. So how are we doing? Where are we at now? And I got these blank stares. Well, what do you mean? Well, all right, were we number 3? Were we number 4? How are we measuring it? Well, nobody's ever asked us that before. So, well, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know if you're not keeping score, then it's really not an objective. So we began a process about 4 or 5 months ago when we started talking about how we should maybe change the vision. And I had this idea that, well, maybe we should align with the Drive to 55. So if the supply side of the equation, the workforce side that we're training, is going to have 55% is going to be with certificates and degrees, the demand side, the job creation side, shouldn't that do the same thing? So they work together, and at some point in the future, that we both are hitting that 55% at the exact same time. And that seemed to make sense. But then as we talked about it more, it turned out that there were other things that we needed to consider. So after a long deliberation, with a lot of thought and debate, we finally decided on a new statement for our vision, and it is, we will be number one in the Southeast for high-quality jobs. Conveniently, this is what the governor has stated, and we thought, it would be politically incorrect if we decided to come up with something different. However, so with our department, we decided we need, at least for our internal measures, and each department could have different measures to define how they define this. But for us, we came up with 5 key objectives, 5 key metrics in which we can define our success, and here they are. So first of which, not a surprise, did manage to get at least that idea in one of our 5 objectives. 55% of the job commitments will be above county median wage. There was a lot of debate about what a high-quality job is. The economists suggest to us that this is the simplest, purest, easiest way to track, and probably the most accurate. So far this year, we're at 50.5%, but we believe that we can get up to the 55% and far north of that very soon. So this is one of our key metrics. Another one, we want to be in the top 2 in per capita personal income in the Southeast, and you'll probably think that's not a really big, hairy, audacious goal. And we really debated this one, but the problem is we do want to measure per capita income, but the problem is the state of Virginia is like 61,000. So it's kind of to the beyond the impossible to imagine that in the next 10 years that we could overtake Virginia. We did have a debate, could we kick Virginia out of the Southeast, but everybody was showing us all the studies that says Virginia is technically in the Southeast, so that didn't work. We really did think about that, but so. The other alternative is we're going to be in the top 2, so we're not necessarily giving up on number 1. So it's a kind of a sleight of hand. We're not saying we want to be number 2. We're giving this a slight hope that we could be number 1, but at least we can be number 2 in income in the Southeast. Another one, of course, we want to bring in investments, and a lot of times it's not just about the jobs, but it's also about the capital investment we bring into the state, which builds our local tax bases. So that's critical. We want to be number 1 in the highest per capita investment in the Southeast. Next to last, we want to have lowest unemployment in the Southeast. Right now, we're at number 5, so that's another thing. If we do some of these other things right, this is more of an outcome of the other work that we'll do. And here's the last one. We want to have 0 distressed counties in Tennessee by the year 2025. So you're wondering what a distressed county is. There's 21 of them in our state today. We have the tier systems, tiers 1, 2, and 3, but tier 3 is really disaggregated between the tier 3 and the distress. So we've got 23 that are a bit better than these other 21. 21 by federal definition means that you're in the lowest 10% in the country in poverty levels, unemployment, and per capita income. So in those 3 things, you take an index, and we have 21 counties in our state that are below those, the lowest 10% in our nation. So I was talking about the great success we have across our state, and that's fine and good. But I can tell you this, that this is the one metric that I wake up every morning with an ache in my heart, burning desire to fix. We cannot let this happen any longer. I'll digress a little bit and share you those states. And these are these counties. I think of these every day. So the counties are, in case you want to keep track, in our Northeast, it's Johnson and Cott County. Across the Kentucky border, we have Hancock and Claiborne. We have Scott. We have Pickett, Fentress, and Morgan. And then in the lower plateau, there's White County, Van Buren, Ray, Bledsoe, and Gundy. In the southwest, we have McNairy, Hardeman, we have Lewis, Wayne, and Perry County. And then in the northwest, we have Lake County, and we have Lauderdale County. And as much as we can celebrate our success, we can't celebrate with a good conscience while some of our neighbors are suffering. So this is something we've got to solve. And I believe that together, as Team Tennessee, we can fix this. And let's do that. Thank you. So now the strategies. How are we going to get this done? So we have 6 strategies, 3 of which are around new business development. These are the things that you kind of think of that ECD does. And we'll talk about each of these just a little bit. Recruit new businesses, expand existing businesses, and promote entrepreneurship. So on recruiting new business, actually the lowest day I had, or maybe the most anxious day I had in the job, was on my second day. Actually, I hadn't even taken the job yet. The governor announced me on one day, and on the second day I call up my good friend, who was a good friend of mine since 2006, Bill Haggerty, my predecessor, and I'm calling him and talking to him about all the things that I need to know about the new job. We spent maybe an hour and a half on the phone, and at the end, he says, "You've heard about the fact that the state of Tennessee won Best State in the Country by Business Facilities Magazine in 2013. I said, "Yeah, that's great. Great job, Bill. Congratulations on that." "Well, I have some even better news. It's not been published yet, but just so you know, that we just won State of the Year for a second year in a row." I mean, no state's ever done that before. I'm beginning to get a sinking feeling. Well, that's really great for you, Bill. and it's even better than that. We set a new record. We had 24,221 new jobs last year. This is really good. So it's going to be almost impossible to follow, but I don't know if we're going to be able to win business or state of the year again. There's a lot of other metrics, and some of it's kind of subjective. But the one thing that we could target is that jobs record. So the jobs record was 24,221 jobs last year, and I thought I would give you an update on how we're doing. So we've had 121 new projects this year. We've had 3.7 billion, it's hard to say, 3.7 billion in capital investment. And as of today, we have 20,067 jobs year to date, or 80.3% of our goal. So we're on our way. Thank you. A lot of hard work by all of our team, but I'll remind my team that's working on this. So I'm a UT grad, suffering UT grad. So I'm reminded of the Oklahoma game. At halftime, based on the trend rate, we would have won 34-6. So we can't really put a whole lot on trend rates. We still have to close hard, and so we need, and we are. But it's going well on that front.